And good morning. It's time, man. It's been a minute. We haven't done a show this week. Uh, we had a guest change, a guest canceled. Then I haven't been feeling the best, so I'm glad to be back. Today is going to be a special show because we got my brother in the building. This guy, man, he's got one heck of a story. He's a man that I really look to, or look up to because I've just seen him do so many things that I mean, like, I'll be like, how do you do it? How does this guy do it? He's got a tremendous story. Um, you know, when we talk about manhood, he usually uses this hashtag of manhood, and but I've seen it. I've seen his relationships. I've seen him as a father, seen him as a husband. I've seen him in work capacity. I've just seen the brother just do some marvelous things, and I'm just quite excited about having him on today because I believe today we're going to learn some good stuff. We're going to fellowship. We're going to have time for friendship. We're going to deep dive into some stuff and just have an overall great show, man. So I'm looking forward to this thing. Listen, ask all the questions. We'll keep our eyes on the feed and just chop it up real tough with our brothers. So, man, without further ado, man, I want to bring this brother to the stage because again, he's a special brother to me. So, man, without further ado, man, let's bring my brother on. I welcome to the show my brother Damon Lane. What's going on, brother?
What's happening, man?
Nothing much, man. Just doing the thing. You already know me, constantly reinventing. So what's been happening, man?
A little of everything, to be honest with you. But
Yeah,
but but trying to keep up with you though. Like you constantly reinvent, so that means I need to be reinventing as well.
man. One of the things that I've learned from manhood is just the constant level of change
Yeah,
that takes place as we evolve as men.
absolutely.
One of the scariest things about it, Damon, is the fact that if we don't, it's like the world will catch up with you.
Yeah.
If you're not making changes, the world will definitely catch up with you. So, man, I want to just introduce yourself, and then we'll just jump into our conversation, brother.
Okay. Well, I'm Damon Lane, founder and president of Manhood Ministries, um, and that's a nonprofit as well as I run a for-profit, Lane Enterprises, and really the goal for me is to and you know this better than anybody, as a nonprofit, I don't want to be that individual. I want to create more of a social enterprise and not rely on grants uh,
Hmm.
entirely.
Yeah, yeah.
You and I both know administrations change, directions change, and so the money changes.
Yes, it does.
And a wonderful program that
Hmm.
unfortunately shut their doors because there's no more grant dollars.
That's real.
I've created in somewhat a social enterprise to have Lane Enterprise fund manhood uh,
Hmm.
when necessary.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what's going on right now, and just getting them both at a point where they're self sustaining.
Sure, absolutely. So, man, you got an interesting story, man. Dive into your background because I want people to really see where you've come from. Um, because again, as men, it's like we typically, people look at us and they see us, we shining and gray and teeth in order, and we
Right.
looking like we just prospering. And I want them to hear your story because I think it's an important story to tell.
Okay. And I won't go into too much detail because
No,
we
no,
we could be here for a long time.
no doubt, no doubt.
But yeah, I mean, and I hate using the word typical.
Uh-huh.
But it is. I mean, my story as far as the upbringing part of it,
Mhm.
it again is pretty normal for a lot of African American males.
Yeah.
Uh, didn't have single parent home, just my mom and I. Um, grew up in the projects in Hallville on the west side of Indianapolis, back in the late 70s and all throughout the 80s.
Hmm.
And, unfortunately, with neighborhoods like that, I mean, you and I understand this now, but it was designed, to do exactly what it did to.
Yeah, heck yeah, heck yeah.
I was affected by the drug epidemic, the
Hmm.
80s, the cocaine. Now, I say specifically the cocaine.
Sure.
And unfortunately, I got caught up into that whirlwind.
Yeah.
Started became justice involved at the age of 14. Started selling drugs at the age of 14. Uh,
Mm.
and just from there, man, I mean, it just was a roller coaster, both mentally, emotionally, where I was in and out of juvenile. I was 16. I turned 16 in juvenile. I turned 18 in juvenile.
Yeah.
Though those monumental birthdays, I was incarcerated, you know,
Wow.
and at 19 was sentenced to 28 years. So I turned 21 in prison.
Wow.
So, it was a lot of heartache, pain. Um, but I realize this now. God was always on my side.
Hmm.
So at the age of 24, I was released from prison, and that was 1996, December of 1996, and in '97 I started working for a grassroots community organization called PACE, which is a entry organization, and from there, I never looked back. Now, when I say I never looked back, I had a mission. I felt like I had a purpose. Um, Still made some mistakes, you know,
Sure.
still
Sure.
some bumps in the road where I found myself, kind of straddling the fence. Um, but ultimately, I had a goal, I had a purpose, and I just took what I've learned from the streets, as well as what I was determined to learn in corporate America.
Hmm.
I just kind of blended that together and created this new version, back to what you
Reinventing.
said, back to that, and I did. I became the never was a thuggish type of guy anyway. That was
No, just
style.
had to hustle.
So I went. I'm glad you used that word. So I went from a hustle type of personality and presentation to
Hmm.
suit and tie presentation.
No doubt.
You know?
No doubt.
And that's really, in a nutshell, my story. Like I said, without going into too much detail, but that's
Yeah.
much my story, man. I just took what a lot of us have experienced. I mean, it's so unfortunate that that story applies to so many of us.
True.
Uh,
True.
but I was just one that I wasn't going to allow that to define me.
No doubt. It's when I think about it, it's crazy because we think about just the drug game and how it infiltrated our communities, how it was implemented in our communities,
Absolutely.
and even kids. It's wild, for me when I think about the fact that growing up in a two-parent household, you know, and I think about a lot of the guys that we saw in the community that still had two-parent households. But the
Yep.
economy, but the economy was so trash in the community that the only commodity was the drugs. And we look and all of a sudden it's like, you know, people took that stigma, they took that stigma of being a hustler. And it's wild because I think about just how things are today.
Mhm.
More inflation,
Yep.
property is super, super high. Vehicles are super, super high. Grocery are super, super high. And then not only that, even for them to get in it is so ridiculously high. It's
Yep.
crazy to think about. And then you add the fact that they give you stiffer penalties. So if people are now wanting to be higher, they
Mhm.
give you stiffer penalties for putting a cut on it with fentanyl. So
Mhm.
all of a sudden now you could get life for having fentanyl. And if anybody die on it, you get a murder charge attached to that. So you think about the recycling of the drug trade and how it's still feeding into the prison population. It makes me cry out, Damon, because we know that system far enough to know that unless there's something of substance that takes place, a lot of young black men, a lot of young black men's lives are in danger simply because of how the economic structure is based. Tell me your thoughts on it, bro.
Oh, you preaching to a choir. I mean, like I'm ready to pump my fist.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt.
Because I mean, you hit it on the nail,
Yeah.
and that's part of my crusade. What you just said, literally. I got, of course, you know this. I'm in that jail twice a week. In
Hmm.
fact, I'll be when we get done with this. I'm headed to Duval. I'm
Okay.
work release center on Wednesdays.
Mm.
I got guys that I've already texted this morning. They're texting me um, just for moral support. It's not even that they, in some cases, they seek my guidance. So I don't want to,
Sure.
I don't want to downplay it. But it's more about affirmation.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying it's more about that with them when it comes to me.
Yeah.
So they'll just call and tell me what they're doing just for the affirmation.
Yeah. Keep
I,
going, bro. Don't stop. Yeah.
nothing else. And it's really that simple. So when you speak on that, that's what I'm constantly being for these individuals is a cheerleader of some sorts to, like, man, don't give
Yeah.
up into this system
Yeah.
that's, that's designed to catch you up.
It's I say this to young guys, man. I'm like, being one who understands it, I'm like, dude, the chances of success are, are slim to none because you're talking. I remember this is just me being transparent. I remember not I remember being caught up, and I remember how they did it to where one of my guys, they was like, this is how we gonna play with you. We're gonna subpoena you. And the Fed was like, either we gonna get you or they gonna get you. Either you gonna perjure yourself or you gonna snitch. One or the other. You know what I'm saying? And I remember, man, seeing my guy when the subpoena came. And I'm so thankful, Damon, because I had a guy who was like, I got you. And most don't get that, who was like, nah, I'm taking that, I'm taking it. It ain't gonna be you. But it was crazy when you see the United States of America versus whomever or yourself. Understand
That's the whole country. That's the whole country.
the whole country. It's like these are the people that fight wars against other countries who are now fighting against you.
Just me by myself.
Just me by myself. And boys don't, and people don't necessarily understand when you see that paperwork, you understand this ain't no win.
That's
You
right.
you dead, you dead in the water at that point. And so it made me realize, and I tell young guys, I said, every level of technology, there's a person that get paid handsomely to get up every single day to catch you. And they
Mm-hmm.
got all the resources in the country to catch you. So if you think that you could get away, okay, but the chances are it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. And so, man, with that being said, man, when you think about just in today's world, we've heard things like toxic masculinity, all the things you look at, just the way I believe that our men are being targeted. You see more femininity or things that are being pushed on our men, on young black men. What does manhood mean to you today?
It means everything, and that's why like you said, anytime I post or anything, I always end with that tagline. But I mean, I could post. I just posted my son and my grandson and our
Mhm.
manhood
Saw
because
that.
it means everything to me. Like everything at this point in my life is a teachable moment,
Hmm.
learning experience.
Yeah.
Uh, Again, when I tell people like why I do what I do, I tell them I don't do it to change people. I do it to exemplify the change they desire to be.
Yeah.
And that's really it. So when I look at the state of manhood, I don't get caught up into, to be honest, I'm not that person anymore that gets caught up into what it's not.
Okay. Unpack that.
What what I
I
what I
want to know. I want to hear that because go ahead. We'll get on that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm more about, okay, what am I doing? What am I contributing? Because that's what we're really talking about, a pattern. We're
Yeah.
talking about, you, me. What are we doing to exemplify the behaviors that we feel are important for this next generation so that they could have it when we're gone, that they're passing it on to the next so I'm always looking at it from that perspective as a solution and not a
Hmm.
problem. Because you and
Yeah.
I, definitely you and I, we can discuss the problems all day long, and I'm sure other people can join into that discussion as well and talk about what it's not. It's like, well, we need to be talking about what it is and
Exactly. So
continue
so
what it is. Yeah.
so when we think about it, when I shout out to Shauna Major. She's watching this morning, and
Hey, Shauna.
one of the things that I used to ask the guys, when we go visit the Justice Center, is what is manhood to them, and a lot of them would say, protection,
Yeah.
providing,
Yeah.
the stuff that we typically hear. Uh,
Exactly.
the challenge is, again, when you think of this corrupted ecosystem, is a lot of the things that we say manhood are in while we in the hood
Right.
are a lot of things that are being exuded, but then they're damned because they go to prison. Because it's like, if I get up every day, and the myth that we're not trying to get jobs is
Yeah.
crazy to me. Brothers get up every day, they go knock on doors, put in apps, go to these interviews where they already got a negative against them simply because they son people. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, how do I protect my family? How do I provide for my family? How do I make sure everything that we say is part of it is the reason most dudes jumped off the porch
Absolutely. Yeah.
because of the pressure of manhood.
Right.
So how do we and here's the other thing, and I know there's some sisters on here watching. I want to say this. Most of the time, young men hear what a man is from a woman. And typically, they
Yeah.
hear from a woman who did not experience having a father.
Yeah.
How do we fix that narrative? Because I don't, and this is not to knock my sisters in anyway, but this is to say, how do we know what it is if we've never experienced it ourselves?
And what you said, just to be inclusive, I say that all the time about men. It's like,
Yeah,
society wants me to be something that I've never seen.
never. Right.
Never. Yeah, I mean, I've seen, shadows of
Sure.
distance, but I've never really seen that the meat of what we're talking about. So for me, you just spoke about my life. That was my mom. I mean, my granddad was as long as I was living, my grandmother and grandfather were married.
Hmm.
Well, as long as that down, they're deceased, may both their souls rest in peace. But
Yeah.
as long as I was living and they were living, I never seen them together, but yet they were married.
Mm.
One lived out west and one lived out east.
Wow. That's
They
wow.
were married.
That's wow.
Up until my grandfather passed away. He passed first.
Mhm.
My grandmother was not with anybody or nothing. He was, but she
Yeah.
was.
Right.
And
it's
that's
it's it's crazy, man, because I think about examples. We have some people who were like examples of manhood.
yeah,
Typically the example of manhood came by way of just uh gender.
it's gender. Yeah,
Yeah. Not example. It's like
bad
it's
example.
it it's like but typically, it's crazy. I say this now, and ladies forgive me. I said, man, sisters live like my daddy and them used to live in the 70s. you know, uh mom and them, or grandma and them, she don't drive, she ain't got no car. He take her to the grocery, he give her the money, she stay in the crib. And you find that the paradigm shift, and this is crazy to think about. the paradigm shift in America now, where it has did that role reversal type thing in the black community. Now the black man is at the crib.
Yeah.
He is at home. She making the money.
Yep.
She giving him the allowance, the whole nine. And it's like, I make money, I get to go out, you stay home, I get to travel. I see it. It's
Yeah.
clear as day. So manhood is challenged. Manhood is challenged in a way that in our community, manhood is challenged in a way that it's never been challenged before.
Mm-hmm.
And Damon, there are so many areas of the challenge. So I know you do a lot of reentry. What is it that you look to on the outside to say, let's prevent this from happening, to where people are still going in and out of that system that we all know so well?
Man, I go in there. I did this, and I'm gonna keep talking about it because I've never done it.
Okay.
I literally got on my knees last week in front of the guys at the jail. I got on the suit and I got on my knees, and I begged them on both of my knees, and I begged them. I'm looking at, on the average, I see about 47 guys per class.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking at like 47 guys in their eyes. I'm panning the room, and I begged them, and I said, and these was my exact words. I said, brothers, please get your shit together.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not asking, I'm
Yeah.
begging. And
Mm.
that's my charge to them, because a couple things that you said I want to hit on. You know, I even think about back when we were growing up in the 70s.
Yeah.
Think about good times. Think about the Jeffersons. Think about even some of the other stuff. Let's even take it up in the 80s, like Married with Children, Al Bundy.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
everything I just mentioned. Think about the male's role. The
Mm.
father were husbands.
Yeah.
Think about their roles. Think
Mm.
about the examples they played. In most cases, they may have been the breadwinners, but if you really look at the dynamics, they wasn't running nothing.
Facts.
The wives were.
Sure.
And
Sure.
psychologically, it's little seeds like that was planted way back in the 70s
Yeah.
that moved on up in the 80s and eventually into the 90s. And then you start bringing in industrialism, you start bringing in the prison system, the war on drugs, all this other stuff that's taking men out of, especially black men, out of the household,
Yeah.
you know. And now you do have a movement of feminism. You have a movement of now it's about the woman. Now, me, Damon Lane, personally, when it comes to manhood, I don't have an issue with that.
Sure.
What I have an issue with is back to what I was saying earlier, the focus. For men, let women be women, and so let that be their focus. That shouldn't be our focus.
Agreed.
I, I don't care from a positive perspective or negative. It shouldn't be our focus.
Yeah.
Our stay on us.
I
Period.
agree. I agree. I think we have to do a better job of cultivating.
Yeah,
Um, there's a lot of um, what's the word? We do a lot of damage towards one another.
absolutely.
Like there's and when you think about it, where do men find support as it relates to men? If it's not, and if it's not your father, the likelihood of you being able to find a man who
Exactly.
supports you is almost impossible. And most of the time when we do find men who want to support men, they're in the capacity in which we're operating in, going inside of a jail where they're already locked down, and being able, and then having the fight to say, okay, this has happened in your life, but this is not the end. So
Mhm.
let's do something different. So I think that we have to do a better job of being support systems to each other, and then that's why shows like this, I have to say who Damon Lane is, because people need to know that there's a resource and there's a man out here who wants to help other brothers, to not just from a reentry perspective, but from a prevention.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Because we want to keep them out. I mean, you and I both know what it's like to be affected by the system.
yeah, yeah.
We that's a whole nother segment.
Yeah, whole another segment because man, that thing right now to me, when you think about, organizations like Core Civic and all those things that, uh, privatization of prison, and you realize that those companies are traded on the stock market, and the only thing that they have in them is people,
It
and
is.
most of the people are our people. Is just reinventing slavery,
It
and
is.
and we don't even. It's like, where is the humongous fight against that, man? And so yes, I agree. So man, I know that I know you have, how many kids you got, Dame?
6.
Okay. Now I know you have the daughter
Uh-huh.
with Tiffany.
Right.
You know what? I shout out to Tiffany too, man. On real talk,
Ooh,
I it's cool. I marvel at your relationship because I see it in so many days and times where parents don't know how to co-parent, don't know how to get along, don't know how to even be in the same room. I have two, and let me tell you, it ain't the easiest thing dealing with the mama, uh, with the S, mamas, and I would like for you to really stretch on that because I just think it's interesting. How do men, and I believe it's part of manhood.
it
How do
is.
how do men be able to do that and be able to keep these things intact, to be able to just move forward in their lives and have that relationship, not just with their kids but with their children's mothers?
It definitely took some growth on my part. I'm not
Mm,
even putting that on anyone else.
sure.
It goes back to what you just said. It goes back to manhood, and these are one of the seeds, the many different seeds that I want to plant in guys. When you start looking at uh, accountability, when you start like, and I know that's hard when you don't even know what accountability is. You don't know
Facts.
what it looks like, but we address some of that. Manhood addresses some of that, so that guys could start seeing the part that they play in a situation. I'm not talking about the actions of someone else. I'm talking about the mere fact you made the decision to deal with that person.
Mhm.
Accountability right there. I'm not saying you told that person to hit you,
Right.
but you chose to deal with that person in a capacity where they could hit you.
Yeah.
Accountability that I'm talking about. You
Mhm.
have some kind of accountability in this matter. So when
Mhm.
you got to that point, man, and stop blaming every little thing, because again, and Tiffany can definitely attest to this.
Sure.
We were kids.
Mhm.
I was 14, 15 when Tiffany and I met, and she was a year younger. So if I
Okay.
was 14,
Yeah.
you know. And so we grew up together, first of all.
Facts.
And think about what I was saying. Now she's going through this roller coaster of me in and out of juvenile and all this stuff. She's right there experiencing that with me. You know.
Mm.
So we're going through growing pains together. And then eventually I go off to prison and leave my daughter, our daughter, with her at 18. I'm 19, she's 18.
Yeah.
We're still both kids, man.
Mhm.
So, get out. I fast forward to definitely had our moments of disagreements
Mhm.
where I saw things differently and she saw things differently, and we just didn't see eye to eye. But it came a time of accountability, and this is where Damon Lane stepped in. I stopped all the arguing. I stopped making everything somehow I made it about me. So if it was child sport, it was still about me. If it was I'm picking, Dashe up and something else going on, it was still about me. Whatever, I always made it about me. When
Mm.
I started not making it about me and started seeing where I played the part that where when I seen that I could change the parts that I play,
Mhm.
that's what really changed the dynamics of our relationship. You know,
Mhm.
when I started calling her, and mind you, we have a daughter together.
Mhm.
I would address her as Miss King.
Ah.
I would call her, "Hey, Miss King, what's going on?"
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and at first, and I had, like you said, more than one child, one person,
Sure.
and at first they thought it was a ploy. They thought it's a catch. Nah, he up to, it's a little dude. He up. something.
He up to something.
I know he just trying to get me. But
Hmm.
that I was standing on it, and it was
Hmm.
Miss So and So. Hey, Miss So and So, how you doing? And then it even got to this part where now, and I mean, I'm with my wife, but I'm still telling you, I love you.
Yeah.
I love you,
Yeah.
and mean it.
And mean it.
Not just words. I really mean it. No, I'm not in love with you. This is nothing sexual. I'm not trying to get into bed with you, none of that.
Right.
But as the mother of my child, first of all, but even beyond that, as another human being,
Yep.
I sincerely love you.
Man.
And when I started really, and this was years ago, implementing that now, especially Tiffany. Now I can't say I would be lying if I said I'm like this with every, you know,
Sure.
all my children's moms, but uh, man, Tiffany's like my sister, man. I mean, like
Yeah.
we like sister and brother, like
Real.
and she know if she needs me, I'm there. And
Hmm.
the real catch to it, not only am I there, my wife is there
There you go. How
because
do
we
you how do you get your relationship? Because that's interesting. And I love it. I love it because I think that we have to stop breaking the family,
yeah,
because
exactly
a lot of people don't realize that, you can we can have, we had the kids. That's at that point it's family.
right,
And we got to stop breaking the family. And a lot of times we look at it's money or outside influences. Because I feel like this: if I meet a person, in my silver, my 50, at this stage about to be 51 on Friday, I meet a person, that person has to know, and my kids are grown, but that person has to know I love their mothers.
right. That's right.
And I think that is such a difficult thing nowadays. I don't know. I do know why, but I don't necessarily like it. But people take love. We can talk about love, but people take love and they sexualize it.
Exactly,
They look at it and they say you want to be with a person. They
exactly.
don't realize that once you build relation and you say, we have something, it's not that.
Not that.
How do you give that message? Or how do you how does one find that person that without a shadow of doubt says, no, family got to stick together. You should love your kids' mothers, and at that point, we all gonna be family. How
Right.
does that work, man? Because that, honestly, that's the part of manhood. I said, man, I need to call Damon Lane.
And one thing about me, man, even though I grew up uh, really entrenched in the streets,
Mhm.
stuff that I was doing, I always like I don't really have. I mean, obviously you can find some people, and you really would have to find them. You would have to do a lot of finding and digging. But I
Sure,
mean, there's some people out there that don't care about, that don't like me,
sure,
and I'm talking about from my past.
yeah,
That and that'll say all kind of derogatory things or negative things about me. But for the most part, my reputation wasn't sour. Like
sure.
I wasn't a guy out there doing backhanded stuff. You mentioned about the whole, snitching piece. Like that's not part of my story. When I went by myself. You know,
100.
it was other people in on my cases in some case, but it wasn't anything where I had to tell on them. I mean, it
That's
wasn't
real.
in most cases. Hell, I was the one they was coming to get.
100.
It was him, if anything, needing to tell on me,
Yeah.
and way around. But needless to say, I had a pretty decent, good reputation. You go ask somebody about Damon Lane from the streets, most of them gonna say, man, he was a loyal dude, and and so I say all that to say, when I got with my wife, her son, she had a son that's not my biological son,
Sure.
and so but I've been around since he was right about 16 months. He was
Mhm.
born when I
Okay.
got. So I'm the only other guy outside of his biological dad that he knows.
Mm.
Um, I say that to say I would always encourage her on that relationship because they had a pretty rocky and volatile relationship, and especially when I came around, you know how we'll do. You know how guys are.
Heck yeah.
Don't have no money about my kids. Oh no, no,
That's real talk right there.
child, and
Who that? And
that
then you want to get on his background. What are you doing? Yo, facts.
and it was a lot of that in the beginning.
Mhm.
But he and I, we never like beefed. We never got into any significant, arguments or fights or none of that.
Yeah.
So I would always like Father's Day would come around, and I knew they didn't really speak. They wasn't on good terms. I would say, like, I would literally go with her, and I would say, "Let's get him something for Father's Day."
Hmm.
I remember one year we got him a jersey,
Yeah.
and so it was little things like that back to the cultivating piece. I'm showing her how to better the relationship with him, that strained relationship, while I'm also implementing that on my end with my situations.
Yeah.
And it just became this one big family. And he and I, believe it or not, now we again, we weren't, but don't take this the wrong way, we were never like friends or anything like that.
Right.
But here recently, and the son now is 26,
Okay.
just last year, and I can send you the picture afterwards. I had uh I call him my son as well, our son. I had him call him and say, "Hey, see if your dad can meet us for lunch." We met
Nice.
at the Applebee's on East Washington Street for lunch
Hmm.
for the very first time. Me and him, all these years. The son is 26. I told you
Hmm.
I've been around since he was one.
Right.
For the first time, we met as men, sat down, had a good lunch. If you would have came in there, Greg, I'm serious, you would have thought we were brothers. You would have thought,
Wow.
oh, like brothers or something. We in there laughing. We had a
Yeah.
little cocktail, man. We
Yeah.
eating, took a
Yeah.
picture together, man, and we all kind of resemble, be honest with you.
Sure.
It was great, man. And for me, that's what the manhood is all about.
Heck yeah. I was definitely going there.
It
Yeah.
brings that unity together. I don't have to be, you shouldn't be mad at me for now being with someone that you chose to leave behind. I shouldn't be mad at you or anyone else for that same
Same
situation.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah, same reason. And just learn that we're all in this together. Man, we
Yeah.
are thing together.
You
Period.
know, just the fact that you said, y'all sitting there and it's like, we would have thought y'all was brothers, but that's technically true. We are, man.
We
It's
are.
like, the level of brotherhood in for black men is missing. And I mean, so many levels. You find that most of the time when we disagree or when it gets heavy, it's basically a thing with misunderstanding,
It
and
is.
no one's taking the time to talk.
Right.
And I said this on the show, brother. I said, in this thing that we have with these homicides, 9 times out of 10, these two can have this beef and leave it on the table. You can have a beef where it was hands thrown and leave it on the table. It's all the onlookers
It is.
that cause the friction
That's right. I
and
told
don't realize that they are putting blood on their hands because they're telling somebody or making somebody feel weaker,
you.
pushing them to do something. You just gonna let that happen, and all of a sudden, here come a homicide, and everybody, standing on the sidelines and don't. And then the other thing is, ain't nobody talking about it when it happened.
Right.
So I'm like, I love what you said because I know that I'll ask this question: is a part of manhood keeping the things that you do in manhood close to the vest,
Oh yeah.
unless it can be given to someone who will support it?
Definitely. It's definitely about keeping it close. That's why it's always. I mean, if you notice, it's always just been me,
Same here. Same
which,
here.
which makes it extremely hard
Hmm.
because I'm not. And when I say this, because like I don't say stuff like this publicly, so because I don't want to get caught up back into what we're talking about, like it
Sure,
don't
sure.
off with people. But there's a lot of individuals that I would say claim to do,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and I see them fall by the wayside, eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
Because for me, yeah, you may come and make and get the grants that I've never gotten, and have the buildings and have this and have that. And so from that point of view, you might have more quote unquote shine than I have.
Sure.
But because this really means something to me and this really who I am, like this is really my lifestyle and not just a job or something that I say I do,
Yeah.
that it's not really for sale.
Right. It's not an activity. You're seeking the effectiveness. It's not just an activity.
Yeah, it's not for sale. I'm not just saying here you go. Here, you can have it. Oh, you got some money here. Here's a piece for you too. No, and I'm not saying, by no means anyone is selling out or any of that type of stuff. But what I am saying is, as long as I've been in the game, you would think that, from a financial perspective, or when you think of the organizational piece, that it would be, a lot bigger than what it is. But
Sure.
it's really what you just said. No, I take it to heart. you
Yeah.
and I don't want to just associate with any and everybody,
Yeah. But
because
when you keep that thing close, because me listening to what you just said, if you had had a crew of men and you had sat around and said, you know what, I'm gonna take our child and
Mhm.
I'm gonna go to the mall and we're gonna get this guy a jersey for Father's Day.
Right.
You already know what the noise gonna be. You already know what the noise gonna be.
Man, you a sucker.
Boy, you, man, what you, man, you gonna buy this something and
Right.
you gonna, man, that's some weak, you know what I'm saying? Just
That's
you know that's real.
no, you absolutely right.
And so it's almost like in order to, and it's sad, but if a brother can't find a brother that would support that,
Hmm.
he shouldn't tell nobody.
Exactly.
Because when it's all said and done, you can't you can't even hardly tell the things that tug on your heart to women nowadays,
Exactly. Gotta be
bec-
careful.
because you'll be deemed weak.
Yeah.
So how does one, when you look at this, how does one cope with that? Because like you said, you find that when you're attempting to be the best version of you, and when you're totally trying to think it out and get that methodical way of you to where you like, this is the good me.
Exactly.
But most of the time when you find that this is a good me, if you're not married, you are lonely. How does a brother get into that developmental piece of himself to say, I'm really working to be the best me? Because a lot of times when you become that best you, a lot of people gonna call that weak.
Go call it weak.
So how does one maneuver? Tell us how you maneuvered. You know, how you've been married, but how did you maneuver to the degree of saying, you know what, I can work on this, and if I got to stand alone and being the best me, then I'm okay with it. How'd you do it?
Oh boy, you just spoke on something. I just said that to the guys at the gym.
Really?
Because one thing about me, and when I say this, it's not about a gangsterism or toughness that, from a cultural point of view, that most guys, when you use the word tough, uh, relate to. So when I say I'm fearless, again, it's not that I'm talking about I can just whoop everybody. I'm not even talking about that. It's and I'm gonna say this because I really say it just this way when I'm in the jail. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
And you have to have that type of attitude to be where I'm at today.
that's real.
I'm no longer the guy that's really concerned about how someone else feels about me, where I used to be. Which, when you think about that, what kind of life is that, Greg?
It's
I,
rough.
It's not even yours.
No, trust me, as a person who has been a people pleaser, as a
Exactly.
grown man, bruh, it is rough because people will have you going all sorts of ways. It's like you're in a washing machine.
Yeah. And so for me, I've gotten to a point where, and I was just sharing that with the guys. So the word as we, translate weak and of course strength, I always flip it now because I feel like you're the weak person and then this is really my belief. I'm gonna say my opinion, but it's really what I stand on. I feel like you're the weak person. If you need the numbers, so if you need 75 people or 100 people or a million people to agree with what's going on for you to feel strength, that's weak.
That's weak. Yeah.
I stand over here by myself and be against everybody I just said. And to me, that's the strength.
Boy, listen, you already know that's how I feel. You already know when it's all said and done, I will stand there and it'll be an army of 1,000 and me by myself and be like, let's get it.
Let's get. I mean, think about it. And and this is a shout out to you. This just goes to show what kind of caliber. When I be describing you to people, this is the stuff that I lead with. How many? I mean, seriously, how many people that come from where we come from have gone through the things that we go through, and even on the platforms that we're on now, how many people can say they know somebody that ran for mayor? I mean, I'm serious. I'm not. Obviously, there's people that can say that, but they didn't
Sure.
live the lifestyle that we've lived. They didn't
Hey,
come from the background that we've come from.
that's
You-
real.
And I mean, I could go on, and this is how I describe you when I'm talking to people. I was just telling somebody about you last night. I said, man, this brother ran for mayor. I said, if that ain't courageous, if that don't say enough about who this guy is, had your own shoe. See, I ain't forget about that. You wrote a book. I got your book in here right now.
Oh man.
I supported you. I got your book here right now. This,
Wow.
this is one that people will never know. I mean, but I'm getting ready to put it out there.
Yeah.
So me and my wife, we think we doing something that Black people don't do.
Uh-huh.
We go downtown and we go float. And lo and behold, who do I see in there floating?
Low therapy.
Meriweather. but
That
but
is hilarious.
I mean, if I'm being honest, now I've only done that twice.
It was good though.
It was. But
Yeah.
if I'm being honest, you the only other person that looks like me that I seen do that.
My man.
Only
Man.
that I know. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see no other Black person, period.
No doubt.
No.
I
And
appreciate that, man.
that says a lot about you. And that's why I feel like you and I have always had a great relationship because even though we may not have done this together, done that together, there's always been those similarities,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I
and,
appreciate that.
and a mutual respect. I mean, of high regard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, man, I just, brother,
Well, it's funny, man. You made me think about stuff. I'll be like, I don't even, I'm like, dang, I forgot all about that.
I
Man,
did.
shout out to our brother, man, Anthony Hampton. He said, appreciate that courage to stand alone in the lessons. Have a great week. Have a great week, gentlemen. But shout out to Anthony Hampton, man. He's definitely out here laboring and
Yeah, I
doing some grand work, man.
just post at Tech over at Tech High School.
Yeah, man, have me going at him, boy. I love what he's doing, man, because he's another guy, man. I look up to because when it's all said and done, I know his transition,
That's right.
and when you see guys like that transition, there's no, when we do this, it ain't no fluff. It's like it ain't no hustle. It's the sheer fact that we want to help change somebody's outcome by simply saying, man, here's what I got, and this is what these are the roads that I took that I can help you not take. And just by my story alone, I know that my pitfalls ain't for you. Let me be the mat. Let me be the thing that stops you from falling in this hole. And so, man, when I see brothers like that, man, I'm just tremendously drawn to them and want to support them in any way I possibly can. But he gonna come on here and I'm gonna let him cuss out everybody. And so get ready, Ham. You know you coming out. but bro, like so with that being said, man, it's one thing I really want to hit on because I hear it often, but I love the fact that you use manhood as your hashtag. Um, we hear the term and OG,
Oh, yeah,
and I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of the term OG
yeah.
because I don't believe that we get to be them. I don't believe we get to become OGs. I believe that me personally believe that once you become a man,
Hmm.
that's the largest honor that
Yeah,
I can think of is when you say, listen, I put the gangster away
right,
and I became a man.
right.
Can you explain that to the people, man, to understand the difference between just getting that moniker as an OG and just truly emerging into a man?
Yeah, and I think, and you know, because you just said it, words are very powerful, and
Super.
unfortunately, people don't realize how powerful that they are. That words are, that they're influential.
Hmm.
You call somebody, and I'm serious. I always use this analogy and this example. When you call somebody by, like, let's say OG, or some type of nickname,
Hmm.
that's pretty much what you get.
That's what you get.
You know what I'm saying? So if, like, you call, a guy named, Lightning. Hey, what's up, Lightning? That you get Lightning. But when you
Get
address
lightning.
as Mr. Meriweather, man, man, you get a whole different person
Yeah.
of that person anyway. Now the language has changed. You
Hmm.
know, the words, the vernacular, everything has changed. The posture, you know. And I actually did that when I was incarcerated. When I was did some of my time at Westville.
Hmm.
And I literally, man, as a young buck, I was about 21ish, 22. And I did. I started addressing brothers as Mr. So and so. So whatever your last name was is what I called you. It took off like wildfire. So now you had a whole dorm of individuals calling each other, "Hey, Mr. Lane, hey, good morning, Mr. So and so." And
Yeah.
see, again, we were walking around. I'd read the autobiography of Malcolm X. So I'm
Hmm.
walking around with my hands behind my back, folded. It's
No
like
doubt. No doubt.
my whole posture was different. And that's what I bring to the table as well. When I go in there and talk to the guys,
Yeah.
I, I actually give them vocabulary words.
Nice.
Like every week. So this week, just yesterday, Tuesday, when I was in there, the word is eponym. Uh, Last week it was dichotomy, and the week before that it was cacophony. But
Mm.
I'm always giving them words to broaden their horizon so that they can now talk in such a way. And again, it's not about what some people would, I ain't trying to make people talk like me, or
Mm-mm.
none of
It's
that.
developmental.
But it is. It really,
Yeah.
it allows you to now, let's say you don't even have to use the word yourself. But if you study it and you catch something on the news, now you understood what was just said. Where
Man.
before it just went right over your head.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
the book. And you get to the word, some people just skim over it, don't even
Right.
it. But now you know what it means, and now that passage means something different to you. And that's a sense of empowerment. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I know what he's talking about. I know what he said, or I know what she said. So for me, when I think about, words like OG and stuff like that, man, I'm like you. I kind of cringe. Uh,
Yeah.
I get it. I definitely get it, and understand it from a cultural point of view.
Yeah.
But more from a manhood perspective, it's like, let's separate the two. Let
Yeah.
that over there, because I'm no longer that,
Yeah.
and just address me as Mr. Lane. And hey, you don't even have Damon. Damon is better than OG.
OG. Because I'm telling you, man, when it's all said and done, being able to be it, it's like when I look and I see brothers who are, out in the community dealing with the youth and accepting of the term. It to me it sends a false message. It says that you can do all the wildness you want to and still end up right here.
I'm at.
And I'm like, that's not true. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna fail in that. And the fail can either be like it's gonna cost you your life one or two ways. You could be incarcerated for a long time, or you can be dead. But
Right.
but I think that we have to do a better job of preparing. And I love the fact that you give them words because it's not a matter of saying you're speaking like me. It's a matter of saying you're stretching your mind.
Absolutely.
And we have to be better agents of teaching and pushing our people to stretch their minds. We are so poor with information.
We are, man. We are.
You know, we believe we know stuff that we don't know. And we'll battle to the end on something we don't know.
We will kill about something we don't know.
That's real. That's real. And I just and I think the better we prepare more people, Damon, the more we can build something when we have better minds. Our minds are infested right now. And honestly, infested because the system is working to infest it.
I mean, you know, one of my big things, and I actually stole this years ago from I can't even think of her name, and she would kill me because I can't think of her name. But I'll never forget. We were at a meeting type conference type meeting, and she said it, and ever since then I've been saying it, that the system is doing exactly what it was designed to do.
That's
You know,
real.
people are quick to say the system is broken, and then that's when I come back and say, no,
No, the system is good, working quite well.
It is working quite well.
Yes. Yes.
Now, you, because you don't agree with things, that's why you say that it's broken. But it's not.
It's not broken. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Exactly what it's supposed to do. So with that understanding, now it gives people like you and I a different way to combat. You know, now we can come into this fight with the right tools because we realize, oh, I was coming to fix something. I got
you go.
My screwdriver. Them the wrong tools.
Them the wrong tools.
It's working properly. You know,
they be like, "Is ain't nothing broken this machine? What you doing?" Facts. Ain't nothing broke over here. Yeah. We caught the wrong guy.
and so it does. It equips us with the necessary tools to fight the fight properly. Now it's just on us, and it's a tall task, and everybody is not suited for it. I get it, you know, because it's a marathon.
It is.
You know, a quick race, you know, a sprint. It's a marathon, and for people like us, we learn and understand that it's a lifelong journey. I will be doing this until the day I die.
Amen
in some capacity.
Same here, brother. Same here. You know. So, man, tell us where you're gonna be, and then I know you got work to do. So, tell us where you what you're gonna be doing.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I said, tell the people what you're gonna be doing, where you're gonna be. How can people seek your help? You probably getting a call.
There we go.
All right. So tell us where you're gonna be. How people can get in touch with you if they need your help.
Man, they can reach me at www.manhoodministries.org or email me at Damon at manhoodministries.org. Either or. I'm always out in the community, man. You know, Facebook, Manhood Ministries, Facebook, Damon Lane, LinkedIn, Manhood Ministries. Actually, LinkedIn is Damon Lane. Manhood Ministries photo, but Damon Lane. So, you know, I mean, I make myself accessible.
Sure. When I post, we're gonna post the show. I'll make sure that when I go do my reset on my show, I'll put that information out there, so they can get in touch with you, man.
Yeah,
man, I totally appreciate you, man. You know I love you dearly. You are a shining example, because when it's all said and done, it's not perfection. Let me say this to the people.
Yeah,
it's not perfection. It's striving.
It is
for perfection.
That's right.
You're gonna have areas where you're weak. You're gonna have, just don't let those areas be so detrimental that you fail at this. You're gonna have those areas. But the thing we want for us is for us to be striving to be greater. And I promise you, if you strive to be greater, you're gonna land on some good stuff, man. So Damon, man, I appreciate you, brother. Get on out in these streets, man. We need to chop it up. I'll give you a call, man. Let's sit down and chop it up like brothers do, man.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you, man. Love you.
All right, love you too.
All right, man. Peace. Man, that was pivotal. I mean, I think that when it's all said and done, having brothers like that, when you can call them, man, it's just amazing. Des Tins, thank you. I love the fact he said, I love this show. You helped me work on me. Thank you. Randall Pierce, great conversation. Thank you. Alicia Isaac, love this. Hashtag keep going, y'all. We're going to keep going. Let me tell y'all this, and I want to say this. If you believe someone should be a guest on the show, by all means, I want y'all to hit me up. Uh, you know, Black, you see it at the bottom. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, no apologies. Please email us at blackonblackllc@gmail.com. We want people to come to the show. We want real people to talk about real things, come up with real resolutions, because we live in a world where there's a lot of stuff combating the efforts that we make every single day. So I just want us to make sure that we're doing something to put out some positive vibes to let you know that there's a way to make it. So at the end of the show, man, we always do the verse of the day. Today we come from 1 Corinthians 13:11. And it says, when I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. And manhood is so important. And people, listen, don't let nobody beat you up. Don't let nobody beat you up when it comes down to you trying. Again, you're gonna have ups and downs. I'm a living witness of it. It is every day. And especially when you're trying. When you're trying, let me tell you, you'll find that this world is so combative. This world is going to go against you trying to be your best self. You're not going to have the friends. You're not going to have the great, you're not going to have the relationships. You're not going to have a lot of the things. And if you really get on your thing, unless you get that niche for a minute, you might not have no money. But I'm going to tell you, putting away childish things starts in your mind, goes into your heart, goes into your actions. When you start putting away childish things, and becoming a man is greater than ever becoming an OG. OGs don't live. Ain't no old gangsters. When it's all said and done, they're men. And when you decide to become a man, that term, you don't want it. You don't want nothing to do with it, because the responsibility of your kids, the responsibility of your spouse, the responsibility of self, the responsibility of community, all comes into play when it comes down to be a man. So, man, never shun it, never disregard it, never give it away, never let anyone suppress it. Being a man is a real thing. And there are some of us out here striving to be it. But again, when you hit your hiccup, just get up like a man, dust yourself off, and begin getting on the path of manhood again. This has been your brother, man. We're going to see y'all again tomorrow, man. Like I said, we had a guest cancel this week, and then I was not feeling well. And so we missed a couple of days, but we back on the path. We back on the beaten path. So catch us tomorrow again at 9 a.m. right here on No Apologies, Please. It's been your brother, Greg Meriweather. Y'all have a great one. Peace.